Who is truly Tinubu? Exploring the identity, politics, and legacy of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The doctrine, the reforms, and the struggle for Nigeria's future. Kayode B. Odusi. Copyright Kayode B. Odusi, 2025. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. The publisher's note. This book offers an independent, unbiased exploration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu's identity, politics, and reforms. It is not an authorized biography but a critical commentary intended to inform, provoke thought, and contribute to public understanding of Nigeria's evolving democracy. Disclaimer. This book is an independent work of analysis and commentary. It is not authorized, sponsored, or endorsed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his family, political party, government, or any affiliated entity. The content is a concise reflection of the author's research efforts, interpretations, analysis, and opinions based on publicly available information and credible sources. While every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, no representation or warranty is given as to the completeness or reliability of the information contained herein. This work is intended for educational, scholarly, and informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal, financial, or political advice. The author and publisher disclaim any liability for actions taken based on this book. All names, titles, and events discussed are matters of public record and interest. Any resemblance to persons or entities beyond what is already public knowledge is purely coincidental. The dedication. To every Nigerian who dares to ask questions. To those who carry the burden of history. And to the future generation that must build on truth. The acknowledgements. This work would not have taken form without the quiet strength and loud honesty of those who inspire me daily. To my family, your patience, understanding, belief, and resilience are the true and formidable foundation beneath every word. To mentors, friends, and fierce debaters, your questions and criticisms sharpen my pen more than praise ever could. To Nigeria, raw, beautiful, broken, and bold, may your story be told with dignity, truth, and unflinching light. And to every reader who opens this book with curiosity, skepticism, or conviction, thank you. You are part of the conversation and the future. The preface. Nigeria stands at a decisive juncture, caught between the fading echoes of its glorious past and the uncertain promises of our future. In times like this, leadership becomes both a magnifying glass and a mirror. It not only exposes the fractures within a nation but also reflects the deep aspirations of a people. This book was not written to glorify or leonize, to fawn or critique without care. It was written to document, inform, challenge, and inspire. It is the product of long nights of relentless observation, of historical analysis, and of conversations with citizens who are tired and yet still hopeful. The emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as Nigeria's president was neither accidental nor universally celebrated. It followed decades of political calculation, party building, and controversial alliances. And out of these emerged a bold doctrine, one that promised reform, demanded sacrifice, and quickly put to the test the resilience of our national fabric. But what is the Tinubu Doctrine? A masterstroke of strategic leadership or an overreach of political ambition? A necessary disruption or a dangerous gamble? This book seeks to unpack these questions without flinching. It is organized around major policy chapters, power dynamics, economic shifts, and geopolitical plays. More importantly, it focuses on the human cost, the anguished and yet optimistic voices of ordinary Nigerians living through the exacting consequences of reform. Everywhere and at every time, you will hear of hunger and hope, of inflation and innovation, of elite tension and grassroots awakening. I have no illusion whatsoever that this book will offer the final word on Tinubu's legacy. Far from it. That judgment belongs to history, and to the generations that will inherit what we choose or fail to build. But I do believe in the urgency of recording now, of understanding while the fires are still burning and the stakes remain high. To those who read with open eyes and critical minds, I offer this work in the spirit of democratic inquiry and national reckoning. Whether you are a supporter, a skeptic, or somewhere in between, may it provoke thought, invite dialogue, and inspire engagement. This is because, in the final analysis, the entire drama isn't just about one man or one presidency. It's about Nigeria and the future we dare to demand. Kayode B. Odusi. Lagos, Nigeria, October 2025. Forward. In the course of every nation's history, moments arise when leadership is tested not only by the weight of office but also by the burdens of destiny. Nigeria today stands at such a moment, and at its center is the life and vision of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. His journey, from the trenches of pro-democracy struggles to the heights of governance, and now to the stewardship of Africa's largest democracy, is not just the story of one man but also the testimony of a people determined to shape their future. I have had the privilege of standing close to this unfolding story and watching from a vantage position as events unfold. From the pulpit to the political field, I have witnessed how ideals are translated into action, how strategy becomes structured, and how faith and resilience fuel the mobilization of ordinary citizens for extraordinary achievements. Politics, when stripped of noise, is about people, their hopes, their pains, their struggles, and their triumphs. That is where Tinubu's doctrine takes root, in the grassroots, in the open arenas where trust is built one handshake at a time. This book, Is Truly Tinubu? The Doctrine, the Reforms, and the Struggle for Nigeria's Future, is a necessary intervention. It seeks neither flattery nor condemnation, but understanding. It asks the questions many whispers yet few attempt to answer: who is the man behind the political myth? What ideas fuel his endurance? What reforms justify his battles? What tensions test his vision for Nigeria? To engage with such questions is not merely an academic exercise, it is a civic duty, for without reflection, no democracy can mature. I commend the author for the courage to take on this task with sobriety and rigor. Too often, our political history is left to memory and speculation, rarely is it documented with the clarity and objectivity that combine scholarship and lived testimony. This work attempts precisely that, to bring together the analysis of governance with the realities of mobilization, the doctrine of leadership with the consequences for ordinary Nigerians. For me, Tinubu's story is synonymous with the story of resilience. It is about the coalition that survives storms, the reforms that demand sacrifice, and the democratic spirit that refuses to bow to despair. In these pages, readers will see not only the man but also the movements, the structures, and the tensions that define Nigeria's search for stability and self-reliance. It is my conviction that this book will not only inform but also inspire, that it will remind us that politics is not an abstraction but a lived reality that requires courage, faith, and vision. And above all, that it will strengthen the democratic fabric of our nation by preserving for posterity the lessons of a leader whose time, whether celebrated or contested, cannot be denied. To every reader, within Nigeria and beyond, I say, approach these pages with an open mind. You may find answers. You may find questions. Above all, you will encounter a narrative that is vital for understanding the struggle and survival of democracy in Africa's most populous nation. May this book contribute to Nigeria's democratic journey, and may it serve as a bridge between history, reform, and hope. Chief, Cardinal, James Omoloja Odambeku, Boba Ito, JP, MFR. Chieftain, All Progressives Congress, APC, Lagos State, Nigeria. The author. Kayode B. Odusi is a seasoned political thinker, public policy analyst, storyteller, and reform-era commentator whose works interrogate the shifting sands of leadership, sovereignty, and national transformation across Africa. Known for his balanced yet fearless narrative voice, Kayode brings depth, nuance, and a piercing eye for truth to every page. Drawing from a rich background in political analysis, public communication, and cultural insight, his writing sits at the crossroads of intellectual inquiry and people-centered storytelling. The Tinubu Doctrine, Reform, Resistance, and the Reckoning of a Nation is his debut exploration of modern Nigerian statecraft, bold, unfiltered, and deeply timely. Kayode writes not to convince but to confront, not to echo but to challenge. History, he believes, must be felt, not just recorded. Table of Contents. Publisher's Note. Disclaimer. Dedication. Acknowledgements. Preface. Forward. The author. Introduction. Chapter 1, Exile, Fortune, and the Fight for Democracy. Chapter 2, The Lagos Experiment. Chapter 3, Kingmaker in the Shadows. Chapter 4, 2023, The Hardest Road to Power. Chapter 5, Street Cred and Statecraft. Chapter 6, The Tinubu Doctrine Unveiled and Outline. Chapter 7, Painful Birth of a New Economy. Chapter 8, The Diplomacy of Sovereignty. Chapter 9, Tensions Within the House. Chapter 10, Statecraft and the Power of Institutions. Chapter 11, Nigeria at the Crossroads, Again. Conclusion. Appendix. Campus Special Section. Introduction. In 2023, Nigeria found herself at a crossroads, grappling with decades of unresolved, debilitating political and economic challenges, yet teeming with the potential for profound change. The country, Africa's largest democracy and the largest black nation on earth, was caught between the fading echoes of its glorious past and the uncertain promises of its future. For years, the Nigerian people had endured cycles of political instability, economic volatility and deprivation, and a deepening trust deficit in their leaders. But even in the midst of this turbulence, one thing became abundantly clear: the nation was in desperate need of transformation. At the heart of this transformation stood Bola Ahmed Tinubu, whose rise to the presidency was both inevitable and controversial. Few figures in Nigerian politics have commanded as much attention, either in support or opposition, as Tinubu. His journey was a long and arduous one, shaped by personal ambition, political calculation, and a series of breathtaking gambles. From his early years as a corporate professional to his time as a political dissident and eventual governor of Lagos State, Nigeria, Tinubu had carved a path that seemed destined to bring him to the highest political office in the land. But his path to the presidency wasn't a bed of roses. It wasn't without challenges. The 2023 presidential election was not just a political contest, it was a culmination of decades of maneuvering, coalition building, and deeply divisive politics. Tinubu's political ascent was marked by tense opposition, fierce public scrutiny, and the constant battle to maintain his relevance in a country where the forces of tradition, ethnicity, and economic class constantly shaped the political landscape. His victory was not just a win for him, but also for a particular brand of political survival strategy that he had perfected over the years. The Tinubu Doctrine emerged as the guiding philosophy behind his political and economic agenda, a doctrine that promised radical reforms, institutional disruption, and a redefinition of Nigerian political leadership. Tinubu's philosophy is not merely about policies, it's about reshaping the very foundations of Nigerian governance. This doctrine, which mixes economic pragmatism with political endurance, carries with it the promise of a nation that is willing to endure short-term pain for long-term gain. But it also raises pertinent questions: is this strategy sustainable? Will Nigeria truly benefit from these disruptive changes, or will they ultimately deepen the divides that have held the country back? This book seeks to explore these questions. It aims to dive into the complexities of Bola Tinubu's leadership, his strengths, his flaws, and the very nature of the doctrine he espouses. At the heart of the story is not just a man but also the future of a nation teetering on the edge of change, the hopes and aspirations of about 250 million souls. The stakes are high, and the road ahead is so uncertain. But understanding the Tinubu Doctrine is key to understanding Nigeria's future trajectory. This book will not just explore the policies and actions that Tinubu has taken thus far but will also delve into the personal and political forces that have shaped him, and what those forces mean for Nigeria in the years to come. Through a careful examination of Tinubu's rise, his political strategies, his economic reforms, and the ideological framework behind his presidency, we aim to uncover the man, the doctrine, and the immense challenges Nigeria faces under his leadership. The journey through his life, his leadership, and policies is about more than just understanding one individual, it is about understanding the future of the nation itself.